please get us started with opening remarks.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is we'll probably talk about what the Federico situation. Obviously, it's very rarely in your coaching career where you get special moments like this for special people, and I always think that, you know, how do you measure someone's popularity or effect or influence that they have on a group? It's immeasurable, really, but you look for signs and signals, and I always think that when the group knew that this was going to be his last game tomorrow, every single player but every single staff member came over here to do something special for him in here, and I think that is a massive sign. When he scores a goal, every single player is first to congratulate him. When they want advice, every single player goes to Federico. So when Federico sits back in his armchair and thinks about what he achieved in his career, I think what he should think about is the people that he's influenced, and how would he measure that? Well, the people that he's actually influenced and people that actually have shown their love and respect for him. And I always think that there's only probably 2 or 3 players in this football club that the whole team would come over here for and shout 1 more year, give him a hug, cry emotion with him, you know. And that shows the testament of the man, because 2 or 3, you know, 80-90% of the squad could retire and say see you later, and they'd be off into the distance. But I think you come across special players in your career, you come across special people, and he is one of those people. And tomorrow he will captain the side, he will lead the side out. I think that's a given. Gregory suggested that to me, wanted that, and I think that was a great gesture. And we will make it a special day. And when you talk about what's happening in this football club in terms of results on the field, we've had massive disappointments, and tomorrow I just feel as if we can flip the emotion of the disappointment into a real celebration of someone. And how do we celebrate best? By winning games of football, by producing a performance, by showing to our supporters. Tomorrow is 2 things for me. Is for winning the game for our supporters, first and foremost, who have suffered badly, and a reward for them for their unbelievable support. The last home game was incredible. The support tomorrow will be even better. So tomorrow is about the supporters, and it's about Federico, nobody else. And we need to produce a performance for the supporters and for Federico tomorrow. And we can talk about playoff permutations. We are hanging on. We're fighting for our lives. It's almost a miracle now. But from a management point of view, we're playing against probably, for me, the best footballing side that we've played against in New York City, with some fantastic players. We've got New England next week. These 2 games for me now are how much do you want to be here next year? How much do you want to show to me your attitude? This is about attitude now. We spoke about it a lot. Attitude to be here next year. Don't put your flip-flops on. Don't put your sun cream on. We are winning this game of football tomorrow. We're trying to show the right qualities to win a game of football. That's what I want to see, because for me, the buildings are started for next season, but these next 2 games are a great showpiece for me to say how badly do these players want it. They are suffering. They're hurting. They are disappointed. They're frustrated. They're angry. They're sad. Tomorrow's another occasion to go out there and to prove that they deserve to be into Miami come January 17th when we're back for pre-season training. And that's the excitement for me from a coach. Before the game on Wednesday night against Atlanta, I had a feeling that we were going to win the game. I thought we competed, we played really well, but we just didn't win the game. Now for me, it's about building a roster, building an attitude, building a momentum to win next season. This club has to win games of football, has to win things, and we shouldn't hide away from that. And it's going to be tough. We've got sanctions that are playing against us, but for me, tomorrow's the start of the rebuild.
We'll start with questions now. Lauren, then Michelle.
How are you, Lauren?
Good. How are you?
Nice.
You just touched on the impact of Federico. Looking back at the season, do you have a favorite Federico Higuain moment, number 1? And number 2, sorry, I'm asking 2, don't kill me, Rafa. What does Fede bring, not only on the field, but off the field, to the club, to maybe some of the younger guys on this team?
Yeah, I think I've spoke about the influence that he brings. He's a lead by example type person. First on the training ground, last off the training ground. Never has a dip day. His dip day is better than some people's good days, if you know what I mean. Attitude-wise, he never dips. Performance-wise, very rarely dips. Work rate never dips. He's the front at every running drill. He's the first over to put his bib on. Whether he's on the starting 11 or the not starting 11, the first or the second team in training, doesn't alter his attitude or behaviours. And I think he's a tremendous example because of that, and that's why we hopefully will have him around this football club for years to come, because of that kind of influence that he has. In terms of the best Fede moments, the Toronto moment was a real good one, scoring. I look back to Philadelphia. That was a real one when the Higuain scored. The Higuain scored in the same game. Their mother was dying. I think that probably was my favourite moment, when I saw two family members and someone that's played with his brother, how much it meant to them. So I think Philadelphia away was the one, because before then I never knew how we would fit him into the team. I never knew what his role would be. We had players in front of him. He was down the pecking order. And that was the game that really pushed me into thinking this man has got something inside him that's beyond the age that's on his birth certificate. And I think when we go to pick every team, we always start without Federico in. If you think about a group of players, these are going to be the starters and then the substitutes. Federico always starts here and then somehow finds his way up to either here or in the team. And that is because at the start of the week, his attitude every single day, his performances every single day take him to that point where he's almost sort of like irreplaceable in your thoughts, whether on the pitch or off it. And that's a great quality to have.
Michelle, next question, then Franco.
So, having said all that about him and the fact that he does, despite his age and everything else, he has gone out there and produced all these amazing moments. How much does it hurt the team to lose him? And even tomorrow's going to be his last game, so he won't be there for the New England game. What does the team lose on the field when he's not there? I mean, you've talked about it earlier, but and then I am going to ask a second question. Sorry, Rafa. Special moment. He said that he's working on his his coaching skills, testing, whatever. How would you like him to stay here? Have you offered him a job to stay on as some kind of coach?
Your first question was how do we replace him? Mm-hmm. Well, I think the way all good things come to an end, and I think we're in a situation now where next year's roster will be younger, will be fresher, hopefully, and I think there always becomes a point in a relationship where you've just got to cut the cord, and it was a mutual cutting of the cord. And these are always the most difficult decisions, because you are not just cutting a cord, but you're almost ending someone's career at the same time. So those are the ones where communication has to be paramount, and we've been communicating with Federico all season. I think he knew his role when he came here 2 seasons ago or 1.5 years ago. He knew his role, he knew the terms of his contract, he knew when it came to this point that the club would probably move on. And there's been a tremendous respect from both parties to each other, and in terms of, yes, he has been spending a lot of time on his gaining his coaching licenses. He spends a lot of times in the afternoons. We've provided him a platform, an opportunity to sit in on meetings in the academy, to start learning, to start widening his experiences as a coach, which is vital. It's something that was done to me when I was coming to the end of my career, and the door will always be open for him to keep learning as a coach at this football club. He's too important a character. He's had too much influence at this place for us just to say goodbye. So I think once we get over New England, once we get into the off season, we'll sit down with Federico, myself, Chris, Craig, the academy manager. and see if there is a role or what opportunities we can work towards. I think that's pretty fair.
We'll go to Franco.
Phil, you touched on how Federico trains, and in the limited moments we've gotten to see him this year in training, he definitely has a business-like approach to it. Never really seems to take any training drill off, and sometimes you see players just kind of going through the motions, but I didn't see that from him in just any drill that we've seen him go through. How do you think those characteristics, that very serious approach, as well as just his footballing mind, how do you think that can translate to that next step, to the coaching aspect that he wants to tap into?
Well, I think that will be his biggest challenge. That was my biggest challenge. Is that, and I think it's the biggest challenge of any player that becomes a coach that's played at a really good level. Is that not every single player on a roster is like Federico. So he's going to have to learn that, because he will want to see those qualities in his players, in his team, in his squad. So ultimately, he will at times get really frustrated when you get, I call them like the mavericks of the team, that don't always get in to training, to do the foam rolling, to do the bicycle, to do the stretching, to do the ice baths. The players that come at the last minute and go out onto the field, you've got to adapt your managerial, your thought process for every type of individual. That's management, that's man management, that goals. You don't want a team of Federicos probably wouldn't win, but a team with 3 or 4 Federicos with that kind of quality mixed in with teams with other qualities that you need to be successful would be really successful, if you know what I mean. So I think his biggest challenge would be to make sure that, and he's gained and played with some of the best players, so he will know that a team makeup is different than the type of character he was. Yes, you try and mould people, you try and influence people to be more like the things that help you be successful, and I think that's the key thing. Federico knows what it takes to be successful in the MLS. So ultimately, he will be passing on his experiences of what it takes to win, what it takes to be successful, what it takes to have a fantastic career, and those things are really going to be vital for him. And now he's rewinding himself back 25 years to the start again, and he's now a young man in coaching. He's probably an experienced player. He's an experienced man in playing, but he's now back to being a novice in coaching, and he has to learn all over again the qualities that's needed. But ultimately, because of his career, because of his attitude, he could probably skip 1 or 2 stages because of the fact that his character is the way it is.
Steve Brenner, then Felipe Cárdenas.
Hi Phil, just wondering, it's coming to the end of your first full season as being in sort of a club manager. Just wonder your assessment of how you think you've done. Has it been more difficult than you thought coming in? And also I saw this week, obviously Walter Smith passed away. I just wondered if he was someone that rubbed off on you when you were at United. You worked with him at Everton, were you?
At United, I worked with him at United. Yeah. Well, I think in terms of my first season, I think it's been an absolutely incredible experience in terms of this league is I think it's one of the best leagues in the world in terms of the competitiveness, in terms of the toughness, in terms of the way that it's developing. Every stadium seems like an incredible stadium. The teams that we're playing against are at a really high level. We're part of something that's growing, and the level is growing. So it's been everything and more than what I expected. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't expect us to finish higher. So I'm disappointed at that, and I take responsibility for that. But my overall feeling is that I can't wait. I honestly can't wait for January 17th to attack next season as quick as possible. We've got great plans for this football club. This football club will continue to grow. And I feel as if this season we've put some of the bricks in at the bottom in terms of the foundation that will help us be successful in the years to come, and that was really important. It was never going to be a quick overnight turnaround. It never is in football. It never is with expansion teams, probably apart from Atlanta. But ultimately, we've put some real good building blocks in. The foundation, I think, is a lot stronger. We are adding to our staff all the time in terms of quality coming in, and I think this off season will be massive for us. And we've got a real big job to do this summer. to get a roster next year that will mean that we can compete. And I had a really good conversations with the ownership this week in terms of their expectations, their ambitions, and it hasn't changed from day one. They want to win, they want us to be successful, and they want to compete, and that's where we are really aligned. And this off season, there's not going to be much time to rest. There's going to be a lot of work done on terms of getting the right people into this football club to help us compete and help us to be successful.
Last question, Felipe.
Thank you. Phil, this is Felipe Cardenas with The Athletic. You've mentioned next season already several times, and the planning that and the talks that are going into that. You also mentioned just the sort of the disappointment of the season, players playing for their contracts, the expectations of a younger roster. Has this season and what's transpired, the sanctions, the results, forced you to perhaps think about the next season sooner than you would have liked, and at the same time you're still coaching a team that's trying to win games?
No, not really, because I think what happens in football is that you can't stand still at any moment. So we're getting to the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. If we start our recruitment process on November the 8th, the day after the New England game, we're going to be months behind every other team in this conference in the league. So we're forever evaluating our roster, our staff, myself, and ultimately we're in a situation where modern football means that you are going to have scouts on the ground, scouts out there watching football, planning for next season. We're planning for 2023, 2024 in terms of our academy roster, in terms of where we want to take this football club. So I think that is part of modern day business, modern day football, where you have to plan. Players are coming to the end of their contracts. And on November the 8th, these players will need conversations about whether they're staying or going. That is life. So for that, we need to plan every eventuality. We need to make sure that next year we are successful, we're competing. Because of the sanctions, we're going to have to plan and recruit even better. We are behind the 8 ball in terms of other teams and their ability to recruit. We are behind everyone because of the sanctions. We've accepted it, we'll take it, but it means that we have to be better than the rest at recruiting the right people, because our margin for error because of the sanctions is less than everybody else's. We know that. So we're working incredibly hard. I am a planner. I'm someone that likes to look forward. I'm someone that likes to move on very fast from what we are getting at this moment in time. Ultimately, the main thing is the next 2 games are a massive priority. They're against 2 teams that will give us a great measurement about where we are in terms of the quality that we need to compete against. And once them 2 games are out the way, we need to build a roster that will be competitive next year to get us to where this football club wants to be.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you all on Saturday.
Thank you.